not there. So unfortunately, that is a sad reality that politicians love to create something so that they can show that they are doing. But when it comes to implementation, when actual operation, then there is a big gap. As I understand, even in Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, there are not adequate members available there. So many benches are not working. Very soon this plight is going to come to Company Law Board also, because as I understand 3 or 4 members are due for retirement in a matter of months. And government now is caught in two minds. Whether appoint new members here or National Company Law Tribunal will come up, so why appoint members? Like Bombay bench, there was a time when for almost 2 years there was no member. For 2 years, member used to come either from Chennai or from Calcutta, and sometimes chairman would come from Delhi. That kind of thing used to happen. But that was before 2008, where all the major matters used to be in any case filed in Delhi, and other minor matters used to be in Bombay. But you can imagine in a place like Bombay having a bench and for 1.5 to 2 years not to have a member. Today also Bombay requires minimum 2 members. The other member retired few months back, which was known again that she was due for retirement, was long back known. Nothing has been done on the premise that because now National Company Law Tribunal is about to be constituted. It is about to be set up. So this is something which we have to live with it. From whatever forums we can put pressure, draw their attention, that we have to continue to do. But you have a valid point, and that we'll have to see how ultimately how many courts are created, how effective those judges are there, and what kind of speedy disposal they are able to do. Because every new forum which is created, it is with that promise that this will expedite, but we find that one more step has been created, which instead of speeding, again it slows down, because there also piling up starts. But that is something I think we have no escape. This is another new concept which has been brought in, although the content of the concept is not new. Title is new, I would say. Key managerial personnel, or KMP they say, otherwise managing director, whole-time director or manager, company secretary, CFO. Only thing is now CFO has been statutorily required, although in practice I don't think any worthwhile company was managing without a CFO by whatever designation he may have been called. Now it is specifically to have that designation. But what it primarily means is that these are the 3 persons who will be primarily responsible when anything goes wrong for a company, apart from other directors who will follow later. First it will be the KMPs. The managing director, if there is one, or whole-time director or manager. If he is not there, company secretary, otherwise CFO. These people will be held responsible for the management, day-to-day operations of the company. Only when none of them are there, then perhaps all the other or non-executive directors would be held accountable. Although in effect what we see, whatever the law may say, whatever the Supreme Court may say, registrar normally issues notices against all the directors, whether they are executive or non-executive directors. Then they have to keep on fighting in the courts to bring out the fact that they are not involved in the management or day-to-day management. And this particular has been seen in the context of 138 cases under the Negotiable Instrument Act, bouncing of checks, where Supreme Court itself has said, if the person is not a signatory, if the person is not connected with day-to-day management, or if there is no averment also to that effect, and still prosecuting such directors is not proper or correct. But in spite of that, we find that all the directors are prosecuted, and many times the High Court also says, if you say that you are not guilty, then why are you worried? Tell the magistrate before in the trial you can plead yourself. But where is the trial held on the next date? Dates after dates just go on before even the trial begins. So hopefully after the new act there will be some more sense. Now this is something which the Institute of Company Secretaries was advocating for a long time, secretarial audit. And I remember very well because I was myself involved when I was in the Central Council of the Institute, And in fact, I had the privilege of preparing one of the first papers on secretarial audit way back in 79, 80. That time, for the first time, WRC of ICSI had organized a full day seminar on this subject. So for last 20, 25 years, they have been advocating for this, which now has become a reality for certain level of companies only, the large companies. But although on one end, it opens avenues for practicing company secretaries for practice, but it is a double-edged sword. It is not that they just have some new field open for them. The kind of responsibility which this entails. Today, if we see, as I said in the beginning, the thrust of this act being on self-regulation, they are shifting even the functions of the regulator on the professionals. Now, whether a company has been adhering to all the laws or not, now company secretary will have to certify. Whether the RBI rules are being followed or not, RBI Act is being followed or not, he has to certify. Whether money laundering has been done or that act is followed or not, he has to certify. So as I said, appearance-wise, it is wonderful that now practicing company secretaries also have certain core areas reserved for them. But when you get into the nitty-gritty, you realize that many times it may be difficult to certify. One may sign, but one may not be sure whether one is 100% sure what one has mentioned. The kind of coverage this audit requires in terms of compliance of the law. Let me share with you one experience. Few years back it happened. One of the largest companies with having more than 600 branches over the country. They thought they got very solid system and everything is under control, until one day a policeman came with the arrest warrant for the managing director, and it had been issued in some town in UP. Then they realized that the branch people had ignored, region people had ignored, and therefore it converted into a warrant coming to Bombay. And thereafter they took an exercise to ensure that they create such a system that before actually it reaches a final stage, they should be able to tackle it at the first, but there should be a system of checks and balances. And then myself along with their legal chief and company secretary, we devise a system where certain built-in checks, where regular physical verification also was involved and not mere reporting. Because mere reporting over a period of time, as we all know, becomes a box-ticking exercise, and everybody is smug and feels happy that everything is under control. Till one day again things go wrong, and then one realizes. So surprise checks was a fixed element, and like akin what is happening in NSCL to an extent, that everybody was ticking on the basis of papers before it, hoping that everything is fine or not having reason to disbelieve anything as such. So therefore, here also, how that company secretary is going to certify in a given context, he will have to see for himself. But when I went through it, I found it's going to be quite a Himalayan task as such.
Can management represent letter help?
Sorry?
Management represent letter will help?
I got your point. That as a chartered accountant, perhaps you will be knowing better than I would know, because some of the biggest firms, they have maximum representations, but when things go wrong, they have a lot of legal, because many big firms have been taking legal opinion also from me, which I realize they keep on adding to the file so that if things go wrong, then they can always say, Israeli told me like this, so I had followed that. The point is that as a professional, we can only run up to a particular stage. Beyond that, there is no escape. And the new act makes it much more tougher for all, whether it's chartered accountant or company secretaries. The moment you are signing, responsibility is yours. Although it may be a mitigating factor if due diligence has been done. It cannot be a mitigating factor if it is shown that you are merely dependent on the management representation or confirmations, then that will be no good. But if you have done what you are expected to do, and then beyond that something has happened, is a different issue. It could be debatable. So therefore, don't directly depend on management representations, but whatever you are expected to do within a reasonable boundary, you should be taking care of that. Now, corporate social responsibility, section 135 of the Act, which has already been notified and will be enforced from 1st April 2014. Now, here it is interesting, you'll find the criteria the companies which are affected are, or who have to comply with, either they should have net worth of 500 crores, or they should have a turnover of 1000 crores, or they should have a profit of only 5 crores. Which means, practically, and here mind you, they have not distinguished that it is a private company or unlisted public company or public company. Net worth, turnover, profit. And that is not and but or. So any of the three categories the company falls, it is a 5 crore profit, then you are attracting the provision of 135. If you are 500 crores net worth, if you are 1000 crores turnover, whether you are making a loss or not, is the second category, secondary, you are attracting the provisions. Now, issue is if company X Limited has losses but has 500 crore worth net worth or 1000 crore turnover, then should it be compliant with 135? Well, it has no profit.
Yes.
What will be the compliance?
Add to the losses.
Sorry?
It will add into more losses, that's all.
No, but there is a compliance required under this particular section. Each company which falls in that category. Profit indicates the amount available to you for spending towards CSR. There are two parts to it. One is the applicability. Applicability is that the moment you have 500 crores net worth, 1000 crores turnover, or 1000 crores turnover, or 5 crores profit. Now, the moment you fall in that category, the company has to appoint a CSR committee, which will be a board committee. Board has to appoint a CSR committee comprising of board members with independent directors. Now, under the Act, you will see 135 refers to that a CSR committee should always have independent directors. Because that time the wise guy drafting this did not realize. On one hand, you talk profit alone. Now that 5 crores could be a private limited company also, having profit. And private limited company also has to appoint CSR committee. Where does it get independent directors? Now the rules provide you need not have independent director if you are not required to have an independent director. So now somebody asked me, how can the rules go beyond the section? Section says independent director is compulsory on every CSR committee. Rules say not necessarily so. And also for it is beneficial, who is going to object to this rule? That I want to appoint independent director, rule says no. So they did not think at that time, but today the fact is that every company falling in this criteria has to appoint a CSR committee. Then CSR committee has to take cognizance whether the company has profit or not. And profit, how do you calculate? It is not the current year. It is the average of last 3 years. So that if 1 year there is a loss, 2 years adequate profit and still average is more than 5 crores, then 2% of that you spend it. And how do you spend it? One thing that they very clearly mention, whatever you spend for your employees, that will not be CSR. That should be very clear. That welfare of the employees is in any case your job, so to say, that is not CSR. Although the wording indicates that if you are doing a CSR and employees also benefit out of it, then it's okay. So the idea being that you do not palm off something which you are incurring for the employees as CSR. It has to be totally separate. Schedule 7 gives a list of activities which you can do. 10 categories. Of course, activities are huge. Removal of poverty, removal of hunger, alleviation of poverty, removal of hunger, similarly education. So large number of activities, and for company where board doesn't want to spend time and break head on this, but wants to comply with, there is also Prime Minister's Relief Fund, and you can deposit the entire amount in the relief fund and be free from other compliances. Committee decides to give to the Prime Minister Relief Fund, nobody can question you, why did you give to the Prime Minister's Relief Fund?
Sir, in all 3 years there are losses, then what happens?
Then very simple, your committee has nothing more to do except to take cognizance.
That's all.
You want to do something, you can definitely
So
do.
their role is limited to that.
Yeah, because you have to have profit to spend.
Correct.
If you don't have profit, then that's what the disclosure will be there in the director's report.
That committee is
That-
already formed.
Committee has been formed, and because of the financial position, there were losses, nothing was available, and therefore nothing was carried on. Maybe some companies still may be carrying on something as a different issue.
But committee has to meet regularly.
No. Now if you are nothing, then obviously committee may, see, it is a need-based meeting. If there is nothing, now argument's sake, 5 crores is your profit, 10 lakhs is what you got available. Now 10 lakhs you may not have 10 meetings. Committee may decide 1 or 2 meetings may be required. Because initial meeting has to lay down the policy. Once that policy is laid down, then it has to decide about the implementation. Policy will indicate, for example, what areas to invest or rather spend, and then will be how do you spend, whether you spend directly through your own department or the option is given, you create a separate company, what we call now Section 25 company becomes a Section 8 company under the new Companies Act. That is, other option is you create a trust or a society, you have a separate registered society through that, or directly departmentally.
Committee directors are entitled for sitting fees.
Now that would be under the general rules, because every committee of the board is entitled for sitting fees. That is definitely there. That doesn't get covered under 135 because that is not part of CSR. That is as a function as a director they are performing. So definitely they are entitled. So after policy, then it is your budget what is available depending on what activity you have chosen. Then implementation comes. How you want to implement, directly or through others, or you can join hands with others. 10 lakhs may not be able to do much. Or you belong to a large group. As a group they will like to do activity. Then companies together may join hands. Then in that case your policy should permit you to do that. And that policy has to be approved by the board. So all these will be there, then the implementation, and that's how it will go.
Joining hands means a joint venture type of thing.
China, a project requires 1 crore rupees, but your company has only 10 lakhs rupees as your budget. So okay, other company has 50 lakhs, another has 30 lakhs. So 4 companies in a group, they join hands and create a common project. That is permitted.
For that they have to form one more company.
That depends. How you implement is that way. Either one company can take lead, others can join in that. Or you create a separate company. Now if your project is large project, for example you plan to put up a college or a school and you have to incur some few crores expenditure, you may create a separate trust or a society to take care of that school. That is what. So those are basic modalities on the ground depending on the kind of budget you are having as such.
So it will be profits before tax or after tax?
It's very clear it is after tax. And that's why there is a demand that this should be allowed as a charge on the profit and loss account, which at the moment has not yet been considered, although the demand continues. And if any company is not able to spend the amount which it is supposed to spend, that is suppose you have, as I said, 1 crore, if you have, 5 crore and 10 lakhs also you have not spent, then at the moment it is not treated as a violation or an offense, but you have to justify and explain that why you couldn't do what you are required to do in the director's report. And your policy should be displayed on the site of the company's website. The policy has to be carried. It should be very much there. And that is why at the first board meeting, after the act has come into force, this particular section comes into force, you should be constituting the CSR committee, and CSR committee afterwards should draft its own policy, which will have to be approved by the board so that you can put up on the website of the company. And any changes thereafter to the policy should be again incorporated.
Even if the profits are minimal, say 2 lakh, 3 lakhs, and the company is, these provisions are applicable by virtue of net worth and turnover, it has to spend 2%.
No. Profit has to be 5 crore. See, there are two parts. One is, when do you appoint a CSR committee, or when are you supposed to be attracting the provision of section 135?
Suppose turnover is 1,000 crores.
So you have to appoint so you create a CSR committee.
But profits are 2 lakhs.
Right.
3 lakhs.
Right.
Then also it has to spend 2% of 2 lakhs.
2% of 5 crores or more. So minimum profit level should be 5 crores.
That is a compulsory requirement.
That is the minimum requirement is 5 crores. 2% of 5 crores or more.
No, suppose it is either or, no? Suppose if it is turnover is 1,000 crore or net
Yeah.
worth
You are saying that your turn as a 1,000 crores your turnover and 2 lakhs is your profit.
Yes.
Then in that case 2% of your 2 lakhs, whatever 4,000 or whatever it is as such. Because you may have a loss also.
Yes.
So then 4,000 you may not spend also and give a justification. Whatever that is, that you can do. So that you have to explain in the board report that why it was a nominal amount and that you are carrying forward or whatever, because next year's averaging you can take care of that. That is possible.
If there is an escape route is given, sir, if the escape route is given by way of giving explanation only, then that amount which was supposed to be spent will be carried forward or it will lapse.
I remember what Mr. Palkhiwala used to say that in the context of Budget Area Income Tax Act, that even before the lawmakers have been able to finalize the law, Indian mind has already found out a way out of it as such. And therefore he used to say, let there be fewer laws and simple laws, so that unproductive mind doesn't work into an unproductive side. Now, this could be, yes, you can call it escape route if you wish that way. Then government will see 2-3 years it is going on like that. Then they'll come out with another provision. That is what has been happening in everything. As I said, in the context of independent directors, they felt directors are not doing their job, so I have one more. Now tomorrow independent directors felt, I don't know who will come in. But that is up to us, the corporates, how they would like to carry out. Although otherwise this is offering such a good opportunity. If you see the Schedule 7, practically everybody, whichever field you want, more or less it is covered. So there is a lot which corporate sector will be able to do it. To what extent it will be done, I don't know. And let me share with you, just day before yesterday, one of the large companies CEO came to me to discuss this CSR policy. He was telling already some professionals have said that they can manage this for you and it will be beneficial to you also and to us also. Now that may in the long run harm everybody, that is all I can say.
Sir, CSR fund has to be created in the balance sheet.
This is a revenue expenditure you are incurring.
Not revenue, but basically after profit. Tax is after profit is after tax. Subsequently, you have to create a fund in the balance sheet.
I am told that you have a full special session on CSR.
Our session we have Anup Shah.
Total nitty-gritties will be gone into more detail and particularly from your accounting angle also. So then let us proceed further. There's already, the way time passes, it's nearing 5 o'clock. Now this is one of the provisions which has been creating a hell. I am sure all of you would have faced this by this time. And I don't know who, in what sense he was whoever has made this provision.